Have this conversation and looking at how far we've come with the election and the results that have been announced so far and the grounds that needs to be covered. We have Mr. Nat Odaudu, who is with us in the studio. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And we have Mr. Chuks Ohuegbe. He's Director of Publication, Nigerian Pilot. You're welcome, sir.
My pleasure being here.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for making it to the studio. I'm going to start with Mr. Chuks, looking at where we are at the moment. I mean, who would have thought that in 28, with all the talks about using electronic transmission of results and all of that, quite a number of people thought everything was going to be done speedily, and who knows, 48 hours tops would have our results. We know where we stand as a nation, but it's dragging on. And it feels like today is going to be one long day because they have about 11 more states to go through.
Yeah. Once again, good afternoon. We are where we are because we are a people or a country where we make rules, we don't abide by those rules. Before this election, both the INEC chairman and the National Commissioner in charge of information, Barrister Festus Okoye, told the nation, the whole world, that we are ready. The results will be released in real time. As the votes are coming in, they'll be uploading. So we were all excited. Soon after the election started, INEC, would I say reneged? They did not abide by their what they promised Nigerians. And that is what is causing all this friction. If these results were being uploaded real time as from the polling units, Nigerians wouldn't have bothered and everybody would have known this is how it is going, this is how I'm going to react to it. But one thing that happens in an election that people have to be very careful about, especially this INEC, is that once you lose the trust of the citizens, it causes legitimacy problem for whoever wins is declared the winner of that election. And they've almost bungled it. So he has to put on his thinking cap, retrace his steps, and ensure that these results, are they coming, they're being made public. But the thing is that long before now, some of us, when we go about making some of these comments, they don't seem to listen to these suggestions. We are just patriots who are trying to ensure that things work well. When INEC woke up 2 or 3 months ago and transferred the director of ICT, of its ICT department, and sent him to somewhere in Enugu, some of us said, hey, something is going to happen. Now we are here. The worry is that it's putting this country that is, we are at a stage where now that anything can happen. And that is not well for democracy. You saw the letter from former President Olusegun Obasanjo. You've seen the reaction from the federal government this morning, making it as if it's a personal stuff. Obasanjo only spoke as a statesman. If you have issues with that, it can be addressed. You read the reaction of the EU Observation Committee and that of the NDI and IRI. All of them are saying the same thing. Things didn't work out the way it was planned. And then they came back to say it is technological, that there were glitches here and there. So when will these glitches be addressed?
It's an important question in which we'll take it up from there at this point in time. And, a lot of people have been, I've seen some critics of Obasanjo say he had no business putting out a letter, saying that he also sat on very irregular and quote-unquote rigged election in the past under the PDP. But some of the points he stated are quite legit in terms of how the election played out.
Sometimes it calls to question how people will put others down, thinking that it is us against them. Now, whatever happens to Nigeria today, we all are involved. Now, even if we felt that Obasanjo made some mistakes before, if you feel so, now does it mean he will have to keep quiet forever? And if there's any problem or glaring situation, I think he's the only one among the former heads of state who have taken such positions and daring positions, on national issues. The time that elders must stand their ground and say the truth. I think Obasanjo deserves some kudos, some accolade, instead of battering that he had. Some people given to him. But I think even those who are battering him are also in the minority. A lot of Nigerians are happy with what he did or what he is saying because it aligns with the position of so many people. And to talk about the election generally, I traveled. I was at the ballot. I was at the polling unit in my own in Kogi State, where the election was, completely militarized, as in the violence. And I had.
Some people will say Kogi State is signature of Kogi State for elections.
During the election, I had taken my elder brother to his polling unit where he voted, brought him back, and I went to my polling unit. My mother had voted, and we were just there. And before we know, gunshots. Now you see, there you heard that the polling unit I was at earlier had been destroyed. Now you travel from Abuja to the village in this Naira design wahala and everything. And then you come and some people came and just destroyed the ballot box after all you have done, lined up to vote. So, and I decided if it happened there, it cannot happen here. I forgot everything that we have invested in life and I sat in front of the ballot box, waiting for who will shoot. It was at that point that boys became, I said, listen, nothing will happen. So the community stood up and defended the remaining polling unit. Now, if after this, after going through all of this, in fact, when they were angry, I told them, don't worry, nobody can read this one. This particular one is online. This particular one, before we leave here today, the results will start even coming out because it will be on INEC portal. And so the people calm down there. But only to come and hear that the results, we couldn't even upload it. I forced INEC bring out the original result sheet. They were hiding it. Because they felt we know the process, they brought it out. Signed it, fill it, okay, take it and upload. No, the passwords were not working. I saw the comment.
INEC put out a statement to that effect, explaining the technological challenge they had to grapple with.
The reason
but a lot of people didn't anticipate that.
INEC, like Chuks just said, we trusted them. And you recall in 2019, if you listen to someone like Mike Igini discussing this passionately, the same thing he did in 2018 before 2019 election about INEC server. And I listened to him discussing IREV. And we trusted INEC.
Now, you mentioned that you were taking your elder brother to his polling unit to vote, and he was done, and you went to yours to vote as well. Talk to us about how early enough INEC officials got to your polling unit, because there's a widespread complaint that it took a while for some polling units and centers to get INEC officials there or even start voting. We also saw people vote up until the next morning before collation started there. So give us a bit of an understanding. And what, if you have any idea, led to the violence at your polling unit?
To be fair to the INEC staff in my area, in my ward, in my local government, election started quite early. I think before I got to the election, my polling unit, around after 8, they were already, in fact, they had started, people already lined up. And in my polling unit, I think before 3 o'clock, we had finished voting, and then counting has started. That it was at the point of counting that violence started. What happened? See, like I keep saying, when public officers are not forced to account for the responsibilities given to them, and they feel that they can explain things away, a lot of things go wrong. Yes, there were policemen. In fact, the polling unit that was attacked, I heard, there was one very young police officer. I'm just going to call it because he looked like a very small, person who was not trained, was not even firm, But when I heard that the gunshots came, he was the first to disappear from the polling unit. Well, I came to my own polling unit. There was no single security man, no single policeman close by anywhere. But at the time that the gunshots were renting the air, we saw police vehicles driving around. Yeah, these things had been destroyed. And you see them. You see the local government chairman drive in motorcade with people
on election day.
On election day, with police escort, with plenty of boys, his supporters.
All right.
You understand? I won't call them thugs. I will call them
The supporters. Let's not
You
do
understand?
name calling. Yeah.
Following him
All right.
up and down.
So
the policemen were not were not up to the duty. The INEC staff, a lot of people couldn't do their job.
There are a lot of this complaint and irregularity. However, there are some states where the complaints weren't so much after all. But we are back to the days of ballot box snatching. The last time we saw that, I know I've observed fully 2011, 2015, 2019 election. The last time we saw on a scale of this level was the 2011 election, where you could literally even capture video of people snatching ballot boxes, jumping on a card and going with it. And we are back to that point where they're destroying, burning ballot boxes, snatching them. Mr. Chuks, let's bring you on board here as to how did we take these steps back? Is it the fact that we didn't have cash and so some people had to deploy a different strategy?
Save our breath is dereliction of duty.
Yeah.
On whose part?
On the part of INEC.
How is INEC responsible for that?
If these results were uploaded from the polling units as they are coming, see, some of us heaved a sigh of relief, a very big one, when President Buhari signed the Electoral Act into law. And that was very germane, that snatching of boxes is no longer in vogue. You can go away with it, it will not count. But have you followed INEC since this election started? Did you see their last statement? That they will rectify it, it's just a glitch and blah, blah, blah. Up till now, have they done that? We are still where we are. So that created this problem. INEC has to take responsibility.
Where's the place of the political parties here?
I'm coming. INEC has to take responsibility because the INEC chairman kept telling the world, reassuring us. Don't forget, he went to Chatham House, told the world that, look, we are ready. Nothing will stop us. 360 billion naira taxpayers' money was committed into this project. Some persons have to account for this. 360 billion naira tax paid into this. Assurances were given. And in the end, look at what happened. We were told, we are few men, that Friday evening that they shut down their server. Nothing could come in. So who did it? That is what has put this country in this problem. So we can't commit 360 billion naira and someone is telling us this is not. So which law is he using now? The Electoral Act is the guiding rule. And they came out with their own guiding rules. These are the two things. Therefore, that is why when people in PDP and Labour are saying, this thing you are declaring is not binding on us, because the rules INEC set out, you've sidetracked it. So
but a lot of people have asked this question, sir, as to what does the law even say about that, electronically transmitted? Because INEC chairman was saying that manually transmitted results and the way they're doing it is well within the confines of the law. Not one supersede another.
Kim, run up to this election. Itodo, Kim, run up to this election. What did the INEC chairman tell the world?
They gave assurances about the use of electronically transmitting.
What did he tell the world? What were the assurances? That this thing will be transmitted real time. Is it being done?
Now, let's talk about the role of the president, because we've seen the parties, the coalition, CSOs, and all of that call on the president to intervene. Now, within the ambience of the law, what can he do? Because he wouldn't want to interfere with the process right now.
He may give a guideline, or I think the president can interfere at this point. Because obviously, Nigerians that gave him the mandate to be there may have lost confidence in Professor Mahmoud and INEC.
Well, it can't be all Nigerians.
That's most Nigerians, and we have you have heard people's opinion. I mean, the PDP, the Labour Party, and those that, the major contenders are saying, listen, we have lost confidence in this system. And the law, even though I'm not a lawyer, said it shall be transmitted electronically. And lawyers say that then when that word shall is used, it becomes mandatory, it becomes compulsory. It's not open to choice to do that. And I think, because if INEC goes ahead to make a declaration of a winner, the battle shifts to the courts. And that will be taking Nigeria Nigerians for a ride. So
How would that be? There's always a
a
provision for the judiciary to intervene. Even though a lot of Nigerians do not want it to get to that point, but it is a staple in our electoral process that we must have the election petition tribunal come up.
We are telling Nigerians to calm their nerves and to relax and watch the people in authority take the right decisions, which they trust them to do. I think halting this process now will save us a lot as a country. I support the
halting what process? The process of announcing the collation of the result?
Because it's outside of the law as it is right now. And it has lost credibility as it is right now. But Nigerians need to calm down. We trust the people that we put in power, including the president, to intervene and to calm down now.
Let me take Mr. Chuks up on this. So you have all of the legal knowledge that is required to at least coming here to a certain extent. I know that some of the party agents staged the walkout when they insisted that except the results are transmitted and visible such that they can do all the comparison, they would not accept the outcome of the result. The INEC chairman said, well, these things are happening at the state level, which, yes, you know, at the state level they're happening also. They left. We've seen press conferences addressing their reservations about the outcome of the result. How much of this, because he talked about, the legal process of this and the law interpreting it, but first off, is it a call to say suspend the process of collation of the result? What are we going to get out of it if we have to suspend this?
I think what Professor Mahmoud is doing is that he feels that the process has kicked in and he can't stop it. Whether he proceeds with it or he stops, there's already a problem. So he has opted to take it to a conclusive end by INEC standard.
So it's a catch-22, either way.
And in the end, it's obvious now. As we speak this afternoon, PDP and LP and one other party, ADC, they address a joint press conference that whatever they're doing there is not binding on them. So we are setting the stage for a constitutional crisis, meaning that it will end up in
constitutional crisis.
Beyond that, the provisions of Section 134 has equally kicked in, because with the release of the FCT result, presidential result, where the Labour Party
that hasn't been officially announced by
it hasn't been official. Let me not speak on it,
please.
Well, whenever that happens, I hope that those who are leading will be able to make 25% of the votes cast, because the absence of that may cause another problem on its own. But we've been pleading since this thing started, even before the elections, that all parties have to take it easy, play by the rules. But it's quite worrisome that the agency that's supposed to make sure that everybody is playing by the rule is the one that is leading in flouting these rules. That is what is playing out now. And don't conduct an election at the end of the day. Whoever emerges will have credibility problem. We may not have another Yaradua. May God rest his soul. You know, the election that threw him up in 2007, conducted by Professor Iwu, was flawed like what we are.
It was notoriously flawed. He even admitted
Yaradua,
to it.
when he was making his speech, inaugural speech as the president of Nigeria, he was man enough to tell the whole world that the process that produced me was questionable. We may not have such persons again now. So the thing is that the country is sitting on edge, and everything must be done to make sure that these things are peppered, these cracks are peppered, and will remain as one. But there's a limit to which some of these injustices will be pushed.
You know, you talk about either way, either it stops or continue. There's already a situation at hand which should be managed properly, or it can escalate. But then this wheel is already in motion. And, you know, when Itodo asked the question about what the president can do at this point in time, you know, it can be interpreted in so many ways if you intervene at this juncture to saying, all right, the president is coming in. You start to look at all kinds of interpretations from different quarters.
The president I know, that's the president Muhammadu Buhari, the much I know of him, I hope I'm right, he will not intervene. If he was planning to intervene, the minister of information shouldn't have issued the statement he issued this morning. That statement is quite personalized. given the status of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, they would have tempered it or invited him for a chat. Because what Obasanjo did yesterday, if you bother to read his statement, was quite advisory. This is what has happened. This is what is playing out. Can we do this or do the other way? And he gave suggestions. To begin to call him names that he conducted the worst election in the history of Nigeria since 1999, I think is uncalled for.
But seeing that he also supported the candidate in this election and his call for a cancellation or for the president to intervene, wouldn't that seem as though he is just doing that because he's got somebody he's supporting?
An interest.
No. We don't seem to understand the person of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. He's one Nigerian who speaks his mind. That he endorsed P2B does not in any way mean that if he sees what is going wrong in Nigeria, he will not speak up. He is a Nigerian to the heart.
You wanted to come?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Even the president that people are calling to intervene publicly displayed his ballot paper and showed Nigerians who he voted for. Obviously, he had his support for someone. Every Nigerian that voted may have voted for someone. But that does not mean we are not equal stakeholders in this Nigerian project or in this election project. So that does not stop anyone from still saying, listen, this is the right path to go. And I believe that why a lot of stakeholders are calling for a halt now is that there's need for strategic communication at this point. People need to be spoken to in a way that nerves will calm. But see, people are angry. There's tension. There's real tension in the hearts of people. But immediately, you declare that this a process have been concluded and a winner has emerged out of this process. It will take much more to be able to handle the situation, which I pray it doesn't get there. Now, see, there have not been the participation of young people in previous elections as we have in this particular one. The interests were high. The turnout, I mean, has anybody spoken about low turnout?
Well, there are concerns about low turnout in a sense, but not because the people didn't show. But you look at the rigorous process of accreditation. At the end of the day, you get to find less people than were on the queue. I mean, there were quite a number of polling units in Abuja where they had massive turnout, but not everyone could vote because they couldn't accredit them.
So my interest here is that people were interested in selection. People came out. There were elections that people slept in their homes and didn't bother. I mean, you've been covering elections, especially in the FCT. On election day, you come to a polling unit, you see 10 people, 5 people, 20 people, and the officers are saying we are waiting for them to come. And they won't come. But this one generates a lot of interest. And so this interest must be properly managed so that we not get into a chaos. And I pray sincerely that we don't get there.
All right, we already know that there are some people who are protesting at the ICC,
Yes,
and it tells you that we need to pay attention to the mood of the nation at this point in time. But looking at what some of the parties are demanding for, to conduct a fresh election, it sounds like asking for too much, given what is required to conduct election in Nigeria.
But when you set out a ground rule, the guidelines are there, and you flout it. And the people feel that, look, see, what makes you a citizen of a country? This is one of the reasons why you're a citizen of Nigeria. Because you are of age, you bother to go and register, you have your PVC, and you cast your vote. You want your vote to count. The votes are not counting. There was vote suppression.
Well, we can't say all of it is not counting. There were a lot of irregularities.
There were a lot of
ballot
irregularities.
box snatching,
and they are
the
saying
likes of it.
This is how it happened. Even here in Abuja, if you bother to go around, you saw what happened. That's the reports from almost everywhere. So they are saying this thing cannot stand. But if it's going to stand, there are some areas you have to take a second look at. And I think that is legitimate enough.
Now, you mentioned the budget, the INEC budget for the election. Do you think Nigeria is able to handle that budget again, seeing that we are in a sort of, financial crisis right now? Can we put out that much fund if we were to consider running the elections in places or locations
Itodo,
that had this
if
issue?
we are committing 400 billion naira for census, which we know will not hold, we can commit more than that to make sure that we hold a credible election.
Itodo,
We should be talking about the personnel. We should be talking about the future of this country. We should be talking about being a united country.
Now, speaking about the personnel, INEC had a mock accreditation process before the elections held, and they said it was credible, it went free, it was good, and they were able to correct whatever flaws or technicalities that they had or observed during when that situation happened. But then again, reports have it that those who handled some of these beavers machines across the country are not the same persons, or they were not trained enough. Are not the same persons who handled it during the elections itself. So, I mean, there are complaints of requests by some of these officials to get help, to maybe gain access into the machines or be able to get the network working, or just, a bit of confusion happening here and there. But the situation right now is even some of these officials are also complaining of not being paid, and they are threatening to boycott the next set of elections, which will hold March 11. Now, in all of this,
you're thinking about the financial constraint here, because it feels like Itodo is still on that trajectory. You do not have the money for
you're considering the cost of conducting an election. Have you also considered the cost of bad governance?
But there are places where the elections
bad governance, and compared to spend in getting Nigerians the leader they actually wanted, than impose the ones that they say, listen, they are questioned. Well, the figures from, let me not mention the place now, that overwhelms this. Whatever you have done here has gone down. So we cannot say that because it is credible or it looks credible in some areas, we should ignore the areas that it went bad. I mean, when I began to see figures coming out, I said these figures will overwhelm other figures that were generated from the other places. And as long as they overwhelm them, you have brought it to naught. So see, we are between the devil and the blue sea. We must choose one. And I think, for example, if we had problems with the last election, I'm not saying so, but just for example, if we had a problem with the last election 4 years ago, you want to look at your experience in the past 4 years. It would have been more expensive for us that we live this 4 years in that kind of condition than if we had a better election. So I think that whatever it will cost Nigeria now, while I will ask that Professor Mahmood will be asked to account 60 billion that he's given. Count for it. Somebody should see jail hanging on, and so that's what they do. If this, the police were 400, the president gave them what the monies were given to them, and what they were snatched and destroyed in your area. So account for those ballot boxes.
We have costs in case you're wondering with me live on YouTube at Nigeria Info ABJ or on YouTube, Facebook. Just before we read, I want a quick question. Do you think this monetary policy had in any way tensed the situation to the point where inspiration kicked for all of this?
No. Money did not play any role. Tired enough. Nigerians saw crisscross. They come on the soapbox, and what they said, some of manifestos studied it, and they're coming from. Nigerians needed a change. Why? Why not ask the persons who are expected to have this thing? Large number of people come out because of they didn't have money or what, because they wanted to perform that civic responsibility. And the least any organization should do to them is to give them that result. INEC has to explain to Nigerians what happened to them that they did not upload these election results real time. What happened to the IREF? Itodo said something here now about training the fellows, and at the eve of the election, they moved them out. We don't want to hear that. What Nigerians wanted to hear is that this thing is working. I'll be in my house or wherever I am. I look at
they're following the update of the results.
Yeah, state A, this party won. State B, this one. By now, they would have said A is declared president-elect, or whether the person meets the criteria or not. We cannot now. This is the third day. That's 72 hours.
Yeah.
The way this thing is going, even by Thursday, this result will not be ready.
Because people continue to object.
For the first time, I saw people, old people, young people, come out without collecting 1 naira to vote. And I passed the house, and the mother was telling the children, see, let's forget about money now, and let's even vote from our hearts. We heard that. These people came out. And at the end, it will not count. It should. So the government, INEC, should do everything possible to respect the wishes of Nigerians, please.
All right, and let's look at some comments as we continue our conversation.
All right, going straight to the YouTube platform right now. Asira Abbas says, I'm in tears about what is happening right now. Nigeria should be a role model for other countries, but the reverse seems to be the case. We deserve better than what is going on. And in all things, Peter, okay, thanks for your thoughts right there. When the power of love overcomes the love of power, then the world will know peace. We can divert the storm coming now that we have time. However, the storm comes, rain, and the land will be greener. Okay, Austin Peacemaker right there says, well done, Kim. And this one says, Nigeria, my country, no perfection anywhere in the world. God bless Nigeria. Adeniyi Shitu. All right, Kim, you want to go?
All right. Do we have any on Facebook? Samuel Olajide says, INEC chairman went to Chatham House and was speaking English. Now, reality has dawned on him. Joshua Sunday Jimba says, INEC chairman should be declared vote of no confidence. All right, his opinion there. And Matza Sunday, we're refreshed.
All right, Nuhu Taru says, I wish I could hear from Mr. Mike Guinea right now. What happened to all the reassurances giving at the time? And hello to you, Ibrahim Hajara. Now, Ibere Joseph Annie Ministries says, INEC has done a lot. I don't think I'll be voting again.
Oh my God.
Okay. All right, let's see what's happening on WhatsApp, shall we?
All right, and just take a few comments there.
Okay, you can send your thoughts to 080-999-3037. You can still join the live feed right now, Facebook and YouTube at Nigeria Info Abuja. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube page and click on the bell so that you get notified whenever it is that we are live.
And Prosper from Gwarimpa, he said, well, to me, no meaningful improvement in our electoral system. Rather, it's the politicians who've improved when it comes to looking for alternative means of getting power. One of the things I can say has improved positively is the awareness of the side of the young people. I want to encourage us not to give up. At least this election will put the political godfathers on the hot seat and would get it right in the near future. God help us in Nigeria. Ayewo Omohaye says, politicians are the problem of Nigeria. They have destroyed the election process and they will come back and ask for a fresh election. Wale from Airport Road says, let's see here. I have never voted because I do not believe in the system, but I got my PVC. So, some of the comments coming in impression like we wanted of the electoral process.
They wanted change. Everyone in Nigeria change. Look at lady in Lagos on Saturday. Who was? They had to go and.
But there was some violence.
Yeah, they had to go and show the face and dripping. She insisted. She came say, "I'm my ballot," and she did that. One woman in Bari, she came with her mat. She slept from by 5:30 a.m. She got up there with her mat under her armpit and she cast her vote. She said, "I needed to do it. My children and grandchildren will enjoy a new Nigeria." Seated somewhere, feeling that the country will hear it is. See, something has happened to understand. The political psychology has been changed. It had to do it. They started hearing this. I mean, the message with them, especially of the young demography, and they feel that look, we can make a change. That is why they are not giving up. Whatever happens, they say that look, end of it. Whatever happens at the end of the day, whether it's election holds or it is, there will still be a Nigeria. But
let's have you speak again on what the president to quell the tension in Nigeria. We know education plays a role in ensuring that people do not go out. What happened with the Naira redesign policy, where an address and people sort of understood going on and what his plans were. But now with the elections and the tension, Nigerians are not satisfied with the fade out. Would it be outside to address Nigerians and call for patience in all of this?
INEC, it is evidence that look, we've lost it to brief Mr. President, this is.
You don't expect the INEC chairman to go and say
the way at the level where they are, I want to see this thing to a conclusive bad. But the question is, where will it leave the nation? Some persons will be happy. Okay, it has others say it hasn't gone away. You know what this country passed through in 1990 when during that election when it was remaining just one state, Taraba, and the military stopped it and the election. It started with one SP motion from Zone 2. In the night, I was here, even in the night. That was when that order was given. On June 10, 1993, they took it for granted. You know what it cost? This cost June 12. The number of properties destroyed. Do that route again. Precisely, that is why.
On the question, because the idea is to see how owners elections are always fraught with this kind of tensions. I can't election we've had in the country where nerves are not on the air. And if this one seems a little night, you would ask the question as to the president, is this something he did now? Would a broadcast even say, okay, come, the process is ongoing, no need stalling, interrupting it, we'll take it up in court? This is the signature of how elections are
has to be briefed by INEC. Okay. We at the end of this process, if any party feels they ask you to
there's always a party that feels every election.
They will soon set up the electoral tribunal. The thing is, are they willing to tribunal? The thing is, what will be the stand of Nigeria
before the electoral tribunal if we have each be addressed?
Sure, but what will be the standing of Nigeria, of nations?
See, recently, days or weeks ago, about the you know, they makes it also, to some level like INEC. There was a situation, and Nigerians stepped. There were parties pushing, even like some governors who went to cut the process. Nigerians the president came out, Nigerians, and many ready to go on with the suffering to trust the president. See, that community generated a lot of trust and the policy. What is needed is that from this angry Nigerians to say, listen, we are watching this process. Make sure that at the end of it, will be served. If there's justice,
there will always be some parts that are not welcome. Is the justice about the fraud, some irregularities at best?
And that will be
justice.
It
can't be about we think a candidate to get
justice will be that EU observers say, listen, it was. Do you understand? And from the ECOWAS, say, listen, it was below our expectation for Nigerians. And so then already. So, but you say, listen, we have this is the problem we have, and there are other things we are about it to make sure we read the situation. Nigerians trust the process. Okay, this may have gone wrong, but they are ready. It may take some time. We have to, but at the end, it will be a person who lost at the poll who declared the winner. That's the one. He declared the winner. If I contest election and I lose transparently, I should be able to congratulate the person that won. That is to me too, even though I lost and I was not the winner. But the person that won fairly, and the person that lose must lose fair justice. That is Nigerians who get that nerves. So the presidential that kind of coming may help to achieve this.
Yeah. All right, well, let's take more comments from you. Would lead to just comments. So you can send us comments up page at Nigeria Info. What's our 0999-307.
That's it.
It's 0999-337 is our WhatsApp number. You can leave your Facebook page and our YouTube page at Nigeria Info. More comments.
All right. So this one from Treble in Dutelaji says, after all the that we got from the INEC chairman, funds at his disposal, where do things go? As him asking a question right. And this one from Comrade John says, Taco. This electoral is prevalent because there are no consequences for people who do not jobs. The courts have changed a lot of electoral businesses, but the electoral officers and securities who oversaw the elections, when some of them were even promoted. Until now, those who engage in such, we are being no, we will continue to rule. Right. Good afternoon. From Garka says, I want to ask if, well, that has not been released yet, asking about the results. Okay, so he's asking this. I will ask if any candidates does not win the FCT 5%, what will happen? If this process is not corrected, I may never win. Right.
But let's take that question. We don't have a formal from National Relations FCT, but how integral is the 20%? Because the law says 30% the state and the FCT.
Yeah, it's 134.2 that spelled out of the 19th Constitution as amended that spelled out criteria before someone is declared president-elect. That you have to 25% of the vote in 24 and FC. So that makes it mandatory. Anybody is hoping to be declared the president. We have to 24% of the votes cast in 24 states and 25% in.
The question is, what happens if that winner does not win in the FCT?
There is another argument. The law said and the FCT. Now, maybe if the but see, there's the intent of the side. So counting the states instead of 5, the state become 36 east. That FCT should be 6.
Don't state already was the FCT.
Sorry, 36 states because the 37. Sorry. So that's how this is of those who crafted the law, not making the FCT status different from the state.
Quasi-state.
Yes, but then it's open a lot of land on both sides.
I've heard a lot of relation to it and different sides so far as to the law say. I think that's also for the judiciary an interpretation too.
There will be an interpretation to it. Abokoba SN, he went to court for this interpretation.
When exactly?
It's still subsisting. The judgment on it. As if this is going to happen. Now we are almost there. So, that would be another bone that they hack because most likely. But let's ask this question. If I doing his job effectively expected, how to today to this Tuesday, this is 4 p.m. Just 6 local governments is yet to be declared. What is going on? These are the things that lead to suspicion. We had expected that by now the city result should have been done and the presidential result out and the stuff out and the House of
But I was here on Saturday evening for a number of people who called. I know people voted on Sunday morning,
Yes.
the delays they had in INEC polling units and Polo Kogoma axis were voting the break of dawn of the next day. When you look at when it counted, when it's collated, and
shown that this is Tuesday evening.
72 hours after.
You are talking about and went into Sunday.
There was also in Lugbe and reported on. I mean, it's possible that they are being investigated to cancel that unit or something.
As the state,
we had Kogi officially from the center.
but at least the state has done it.
But the state has
Time where at the morning of people already gone down, and already we're counting corpses already.
to paint all of this picture so that
but
people
see,
will
if
not
those
feel
ones-
like.
FCT, I mean, if you go to the level of compliance, yes, I think you're going to score it high. The state, even with that pocket of violation about Lugbe. You understand? So, of history in other places, I think FCT was less expected. That even if it did come first, this is the home of the collation exercise. By now, it's whether they voted till Sunday, it shouldn't have taken this long, but we've not gotten the result. I think it gives room for that he's mentioned.
The lady, Mrs. Kingibe, who ran on the ticket of late last night, and raised the alarm that the large getting from that place is the result. It appeared that is being manipulated. But the thing is, after us, these results ought to have been released because it is very important.
When it's until it's ready, I guess the collation center in a week get
because it's not formally. No, I understand where he's coming from, but seeing for the National Coalition Center to give us all of the figures, there are a lot of press that are addressed about concerns, and I know a lot of people have seen also, given the fact that the Coalition Center is right under your nose. FCT should have been the first. And people asking how did Kogi get here before the FCT, and what relation density also of the FCT in terms of the number.
And of Kogi. And they were able to, every local judge did all those things and got the result right at that house. This is FCT.
We're still waiting for the call center to resolve. Let's take more of your comment. We'll be responding for now. So please send comment via what 0999300137 and it's via our YouTube. Also, because we're back to Nigeria Info Abuja. Or leave your thoughts on our Facebook.
All right, this one right here says Nigeria this anymore, and INEC should take release of anything that is happening at time. Okay, now this is as a difference between the manual result and IREV result. Did you include your name if you could do that 419? That's the difference between and
The
IREV.
difference is the law.
Speak of that.
Yes, the difference is the law. The law that the result should
Legal Act.
that 2022 transmitted electorally.
Did it use must?
Shall means must. Shall means there's no alternative.
So it's
That's the only
No
option.
ambiguity.
binding on them.
Binding.
That's why some of us are saying like, you have all explanation. Come to tell us that now because we experience some glitches. And you know what happens? Look at what is happening in all these polling booths. They make sure that the ballot papers are the result sheets are taken away. They are right. So why do we go through all this? I told you here a few weeks ago that President Buhari will remember for one reason for signing that electoral act. And all Nigerians were looking for us to reap from it, so that we are waiting for all this. They would have been congratulating the president-elect, and endlessly we move on. Now they're taking 9 years back.
All right, it was in around the 2023 election. Results are still coming in. Quite a number of states formally by the National Commission. At the state level, a good number of those states have done that. Same for River States, where it's been a recall on a handful of states. River State, for some reason, due to protest and all of that, they're not there yet. So we might have to wait for states like Rivers. Before going on today, they said about 5 states were already closed for more to arrive so that we can have some sort of a marathon and hopefully not exceed tonight. If that
Boss is coming to the FCT. They're able to get this over and done with. But so results from the National Coalition Center, Ekiti, Kwara, Ogun, Oyo, Yobe, Enugu, Gombe, Jigawa, Adamawa, and Nasarawa. So more states, are still pending to the collation announcement action center right here in Abuja. I need to ask them a question. How many days is it going to take to conclude a general election? I advise a lot of people to register, transfer, and vote. Now cannot face them because of the drama happening as well as the beavers. Okay. Call off queue for your message.
All right, as we're looking at more messages, I mean, you want how this would impact the governorship election, the 11th of March, because a whole lot hangs on how these issues are addressed and we move past it to how, the governorship election will play out, because it feels like this needs to be gotten right.
We had projected that by now we would have been done with this presidential election, and people would now begin to prepare for the governorship election. But it's
a good thing INEC even gave about that 2 weeks window.
2 weeks. The thing is that whether anybody likes it or not, one party has made its mark. That's the Labour Party. Have on hand. Nobody of them any chance. Don't forget that it's 9 months ago, this party, one person where people when their things around. So, and they have made influence, their presence felt in so many states. One is thinking, they would build on that. A party like PDP, they've lost some zones, especially Southeast and South. Is self-inflicted problem. The party we could resolve it. To have much problem, but the thing is that it's going to be a bandwagon effect. If a president-elect is announced and it goes down well with the people, some persons will say, okay, we don't want to be, can we change? Can we look at somebody who is from A or Party B and realign? It can be realignment as we look forward to, because, but the thing is, there is a new kid on the block. That is the.
All right, we'll leave all of that and go quick. After the news, we'll hear more comments, a conversation with our guest. We still have half an hour. The studio isn't open just yet. On to 95.1 Nigeria Info.